Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Piton here. Hi, Jules. How are you? And I'm going to go over a few things um, with regards to the markets, and talk about, in particular, there's some news that came out with regards to Amazon. Um, so those of you who may or may not have seen, Amazon's going to be buying the assets, I think the studio assets of MGM. So keep in mind, this isn't just the assets of, you know, we think about movies and going forward, the studio assets. It also comes down to the film library. That's what Amazon is really paying up for. They're paying up for all the past movies of MGM as well, so that now they retain those rights. I think movies and certain types of works have like a 50-year useful life kind of thing. And I'm not 100% sure. I'm not an attorney with intellectual property, but I do remember reading something along the lines that whether it be film or books, certain things have like about a 50, I think it's 50 years, a 50-year useful life. And so why is this a disturbing development, from my perspective? Okay, number one, Amazon already has a disproportionate amount of power in the economy, and frankly, I think it needs to be broken up because they're one of the companies that is probably manipulating things far more than we realize. There's laws on the books that make it illegal to price discriminate. What does that mean? You can't sell things at a loss, to drive out competitors. And I'm not 100% sure if they're doing it, but I do think that it should be looked into. Their algorithms can adjust the price based on your behavior in real time. So if you happen to look at something on Amazon, and then they know that your elasticity of demand is pretty sticky, that you're not going to shift, they'll continue to up your price. The moment you start to look away, or you go shopping somewhere else, they spy on you, they check to see what you're doing, and then they might offer you a slightly better price. And this is what they're doing, folks. This is the type of stuff that we, the people, need to change, because if we have an entrepreneurship class in this country, and you have some companies like Amazon who can literally see what you're doing and thinking in real time and adjust the price to drive out competition. Yes, it works okay for now, but wait until there is no competition left, and then they're going to really punch everybody in the face. And so this is the type of thing that Amazon is doing. And now with regards to buying these assets, like I said before, Netflix is a company that's probably, has some of the widest reach on planet Earth with regards to propaganda. The Smith-Mundt Act of 2012 was revised for propaganda on U.S. soil. These platforms that are global in nature allow for global propaganda. So this is the corporatist agenda. So it's something to think about. I'm not, we live in a time where we don't have, we don't have politicians that actually think and reflect on history of the United States. They don't study why some of the rules have been in place, which is, one of the reasons why they probably don't is because so much stuff is just bogged down. We got all this filler. We got all this crap, all these bogus laws, 2,000-page spending bills where nobody can really decipher what the hell is going on. And I think we really need to break all this up and go back to the basics, go back to, how limited our government should be. And so that there's power, the people that are in government look at these types of abuses and, a power that I'm describing, as well as when they look at this, they can sit down and be like, you know what, this doesn't make sense. I don't believe that one company should not just own newspapers like the Washington Post on a private level. Now they're going to try to own movies. Who's to say they don't modify that film library? Nobody's talking about that as well. They could turn around and modify movies from the past, digitally alter them, digitally change the storyline. So folks, keep on to your old DVDs, because I think that, I think that this is the real risk that we run. And I've talked about this before with regards to books, why I like physical books versus digital books. There's the ability within the software to modify PDFs remotely, folks. you can literally have the book rewritten while it's on your shelf. So you don't even have to worry about the book being burned anymore. Just rewrite the damn thing while it's sitting in your digital bookshelf. And this is the kind of crap that they're pulling all the time. And unless we wake up and realize that this is what they're doing, they're being extremely deceptive and malicious, and they think that nobody's going to call them out on it. And in some respect, nobody does really speak up about it. I got 57 people watching. So I appreciate everybody watching, but in a country of 300 million, why aren't some of the other folks that have much larger audiences really calling out just how bad this really is, and how bad it is for our country long term when we let things like this happen. So digitally, you're right, Mason. If we let this type of stuff continue to take place, it's going to make it extremely easy to rewrite history and put any kind of propaganda and agenda it wants. Don't kid yourself. They'll probably try to do the digital Bible next and do the same thing there and start rewriting religion with slight changes in the words, changing of the meaning of the words. And this is the way they're going to kind of creep in into the system and so forth. So it's extremely disturbing, to say the least. But I wanted to point it out because simultaneously, as this news is coming out about Amazon, the other thing they're going to do is they're going to try to go head-to-head with the company that we've all heard of called Walgreens, right? Walgreens as well as CVS. I think they're going to start going after that market. This is also going down. In terms of those stocks. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Hold on a second. And I want you guys to look. This is on CNBC. You can see for yourself. Okay. So right now, you can see they need more content, which is why they're buying it to become relevant. But nobody's talking about the other thing. But look at this. Folks, 175 million Prime subscribers. 175 million. So you have quite an audience. Can you imagine running for political office nationwide, and Amazon just takes these 175 million Prime subscribers and crafts a message that nobody else sees but you, and they can craft that message to specifically get you to jump a specific way, right? They just they want to control which way the frog jumps, is what they say, and this is the deal. With this kind of footprint, it's very, very hard. Across the country, we have grassroots efforts. If we have, 100 people here, 500 people there, 10,000 people there, folks, that takes a lot of effort to get up to 175 million. You got to remember one other thing. Amazon's getting paid by those 175 million people an annual fee. So you look at that annual fee. I don't know if it's $100. That's what I remember it being at. So 175 million times $100 is $17 billion. $17 billion right off the top. I think Amazon probably makes more in Amazon Prime fees than a company like Walmart does in profits. So let's take a look, just for the heck of it. What does Walmart earn in profits? We're just going to say Walmart stock income statement, and you can do this real quick yourself. And you can see that Walmart does about $500 billion in sales, okay? And if you just went to just basic Yahoo Finance and you said, okay, well, how much are they making, Bobby? Let's take a look. And you can see that, wow, look at that. Walmart makes $13.5 billion. So Amazon is making essentially $17 billion off of those Prime fees. Okay, so you think about that. They're one of these companies that can dictate the course of life on planet Earth. And the question is that what we want? Do we want corporations to dictate the course of life, not just in the United States, but the entire planet? And I would argue absolutely not. We need to break them up, and we need to make sure that this type of funny business that's going on that allows them to spy on everybody remotely, change things in real time, and have an unfair advantage against everybody else. Folks, I just want you to imagine that anytime you went to go buy a stock, someone that managed your money professionally, they knew you were going to buy it. So they bought it first, and they bought that stock right before you bought it, and they marked it up a buck. So if you want to buy something for $30, they just bought it at 29 and they sold it to you at 30. But they always got to know exactly how much you were going to buy, and they got to go in and buy it right before you. You'd be outraged. You wouldn't want to buy stocks anymore, as you shouldn't. Guess what? It's against the law. You can't do that. You can't buy for your own account before a client accounts like that. And so when these companies do the same crap with stuff that they see in the physical world, I do think that it should be illegal. There's already laws on the books that we need to apply to retail that exist in the financial markets that can significantly correct this insane problem that I'm talking about. And so that's Amazon. Now, folks, I've been talking about this whole census thing. I do believe that the census is way off. I do not believe that there's 330 million Americans. I think it's a bogus number. I've said it again. I've said it once. I'll say it again. Based on the CDC numbers, there's about one death for every 116, 117 people in America. And you sit there and you're like, what the hell is going on? If the average life expectancy is 89, right? 80, say it's 86 to 89, depending on male, female, genders, folks, not the ones that are in your imagination. I'm talking like your physical gender, what you're biologically, a male or female. Your life expectancy is going to be based on that. It's going to be different. Okay. I guess some guys that may want to live longer, they'll just tell themselves they're women, and maybe they'll live an extra 3-4 years, because women tend to live a little longer than men. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think it's going to work. But anyways, with regards to if you have one person dying out of every 117, but the replacement of the nation, right, there's about a 1% population growth per year. The average age of the country has to keep going up at a faster pace if that many people are living longer. We'd have the overall life expectancy continue to shoot up, and it's not. So something's off. And so I think a lot of these scams across all the states with regards to population are meant for using, basically not using, abusing federal money. So all the states are cheating together. They're all figuring out, hey, you know what? We're just going to misstate these census data numbers. We're vying for seats in Congress, and there's no repercussions if we get caught committing this fraud. And so guess what? They keep committing what I think is outright fraud. I do think that this, I have no proof of this, folks. I'm just looking at the numbers. But when you look at the numbers, it is disturbing. And I do think that it should be investigated by the people, because the government sure as hell isn't going to do it. It's not going to look into this stuff. So we need to look at it. So what I did do, and I want to bring this out, is I went and pulled down the economic report to the president. You guys can pull these down. I highly recommend it. Damn it, I'm going to have to download them all because I'm worried they're going to start modifying them all. So I'm a little concerned that if I don't download these reports, they're about 400 pages each, and they go back 50 years, 60 years. But it wouldn't shock me if they're going to try to censor us and pull this information away. Okay? So let's take a look. Okay. So over here, you can see the economic report to the president. This is I pulled up 1999, I believe. So 1999 economic report to the president. You could pull down all these different years. As you can see, the one I was looking at, I think was 2000. I pulled down the 2000 report to the president. There's all these different sections. You can read what the state of the U.S. economy through these reports. It's very fascinating. If you want to understand where we've been and where we're going, this is a great spot to look. And don't waste your time watching carnival barkers on the mainstream television, I guess, or as the Brits like to say, the telly, and go and look at the stuff yourself. And you can see right here, what the GDP was going back, real GDP, all this type of stuff. So I was sitting there thinking, you know what? I'd like to know what it looked like before that criminal George Bush became the president, right? Because George H.W. Bush, because I think he's the most corrupt person probably in U.S. history. His family is probably the most corrupt crime family on planet Earth politically, and I think they caused a tremendous amount of problems that we're experiencing today. And so I was just curious. I wonder if they did anything, with regards to these numbers. I was like looking at the year 2000, And I was kind of having a look at the year 2000, and this is the U.S. population. So you can see right here, this is through 1929 through 1999. I kind of pulled this out. This is in the economic report to the president. This you can see right here, ERP. It's govinfo.gov. So I pulled this report down, 2000. So you guys can go look at it for yourself. And now you can see, how old everybody is. Under age 5, 19, you get the idea. You can look through this going back to 1929 in this 2000 report. So I just happened to look. I was like, I wonder if they modified any of these numbers right here. Like right around here. I was like, that piece of garbage, Bush, that I voted for. Unfortunately, I didn't vote for him. I was too young to vote for him. I did vote for his son though, and then his little brother, little Jebby, his son Jebby in Florida, did the whole hanging Chad incident. So at some point I will explain what I think we're overlooking. I'm not going to do that right now. I need a big audience to do that. 100 folks isn't going to do it. I really need to make sure the message gets out as wide as possible. I am going to see if I can get onto Steve Bannon's show. If I'll see if he reaches out to me, but I do want to get it out there. I am going to be on Ann Vandersteel this evening. Feel free to join me, and then I'm going to be on another person's show, Gail, at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time today. But I this stuff is all related, I guess is what I'm saying. Hold on a second. I need some water. Okay, so you can see, I want to focus on a couple things. So right here, you can see in 1986, there was 240 million Americans right here. I know I can't really blow it up any more than this. You're going to have to trust me. This is the total count here. Total, right here. See that? Total. And then you go down here to 1986, and you can see there was 240.6 million Americans. You got to add 3 zeros. Okay? So then I went and pulled down the economic report. This is a lot tougher to see. This is from 1987. Okay? So I went to 1987, and I pulled the report, which was scanned in. You see how it's scanned in? So, this is once again why we need to make sure we create paper copies of all this stuff, because these people are a bunch of losers. I think they're modifying some of the data. And you can see in 1984, there was 237 million and 1,000 Americans. Okay? So when you look here, what the hell happened, Bobby? Why is there 236 million? What happened? What happened to the skim? Why are there 650,000 people that gone missing, right? And so, okay, so then let's look to 1980. 227,726, okay? 227,757, okay? So, obviously there's been some kind of adjustments. And I'm really curious as to who's causing these adjustments, because we should just be looking at the data from before. So 1981, 230, 138, 230, 229. So it's kind of coming down, and I'm really curious. Now you may say, what's the big deal, Bobby? Why is that bother you so much, right? Well, because it should be what it was. It shouldn't be changed. So you can see right here in 1970 it was 205,052. And in 1970, it was 205,052. Okay, so the 1987 and 2000 report was the same. So let's go to 1960. 180,671,000 Americans. 180,671,000 Americans. That's the way it's supposed to look. It's supposed to not change in different years. So the fact that it started to change is kind of like giving me reason for pause. It's like, wait a second. Okay, in 1987, okay, well, because this should be the whole year. They didn't break it out here, but 243,773. That's what it shows here. 243,773 in 1987. Okay, 242,804. So it's like it's missing 1 million people. Now that doesn't sound like a big deal, but when we have margins on elections that are tiny, it is a huge deal. When you have 1 million people that go missing, 1 million people go missing right before a presidential election in '88, right? That's the thing. Now, granted, these modifications, I would have to look through these reports through time to see what the deltas are. But, this scam started, I think it started with George Bush, George H.W. Bush, the old crook that he was. And, I'm really curious to know what the hell was in those envelopes. But I think it all started with this piece of garbage that ran the CIA, was there in Dallas. There's a photo of him when Kennedy was killed. And his family's been involved in war profiteering since World War I. Look it up if you don't believe me. It's Samuel Bush. And his brother Samuel Bush was in business with no other than Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller's brother, back in the early teens of this country, back in the early 19 teens. And they married one of the wealthiest families in the country. They married into him, the Livingstons. Look it all up, folks. I've researched all this on my own. And I'm telling you that something is clearly off, because when you look at these numbers and you're like, wait a second, I'm reading these reports, and all of a sudden, the population growth rate falls, and it falls to about 1%, 1.2% back in the early 80s and so forth. And then in 2001, during the September 11 distraction that they also profited off of and killed Americans, somebody did it, right? It wasn't a fluke. I don't think it's, I think the enemy is probably within even back then. But when you see the population of the United States go up by 3.3% in 1 year, when the population's been going up by 1%, 3.3%, based on the 2000 numbers. So let's look at this. Okay, this is going to be an approximation. I want to kind of explain this to everybody, because this is why I'm making these claims. I'm not claiming it in a vacuum. I'm not doing it because it sounds cute. It pisses me off, frankly, that nobody is, myself included, right? I don't work for the government. I'm not looking at this stuff for, that's not my livelihood to look at whether or not the government's cheating. But I can tell you right now that we most definitely need to look into it and put systems in place to monitor our damn government, because they are cheating on a lot of different fronts. So let me take a look. Where did I lose? Did I lose my tab? Hold on a second here. Okay, I think the number was like 270. Here, I can tell you right now. I have the number. Hold on a second here. I apologize. Okay, here we go. So the number in 1991 was 273 million. Okay, that's how many Americans they said we had in the year 1999. Okay, 273.131 million Americans. Now, based on the census data that I just downloaded, the number of households, which is an approximation, for the year 2000, you're talking about a hold on a second. It was a 3.35% increase year over year. Now, folks, they tried to put some kind of bullshit asterisk in there trying to justify this crap, okay? And it's bogus, because that 3.35%, when the standard deviation was 60 basis points, okay, 63 basis points, and the average population change was like 1%. So this was like a 3.69 standard deviation event, which is 1 in 1,000. This is the odds of the population changing this much is like a 1 in 1,000 type of event, okay, in any given year, especially after the country was slowing down. Now you sit there and you look at that number, 273 million people. We'll just round it to 273. I'm going to just kind of go through this real quick with you, and then you guys can see for yourself, because this is one of the ways in which they're running this damn scam. And so let me take a look here. I'm going to show you the sheet. I'm going to pull up Excel, and then I'm going to go back to the screen over here. You guys can look at it. Hold on a second here. Okay, so right here, you can see this number, 273,131, right here, 273,131 in 1999. Okay, I can't blow it up anymore. So then if we go here, we're going to go, okay, Bobby, 2.273,131,000 people, okay? And I'm going to color code this so you guys can see it. I know it's tough on the screen. Blow this up as much as I can. Okay, here we go. So we'll just kind of keep going. Here we go, 273,1, okay? Now I want you to take this number. We're going to go 1.033, 335, because it was 3.35% increase. So this number is 282 million. So when we look at those two numbers, we're going to be like, wow, Bobby, that's a hell of a population increase. 9 million people showed up. Unbelievable. What should have showed up based on a 1% population growth? Well, if this number, this is 3.35% growth, okay? So then if it was 1% growth, 1.02, I think was the median. We'll get even more exact. So we take that 271 and we multiply times 1.0102. Okay, so we're at 275. You can't have a fractional person, so we're just going to round that down. I guess if some Democrats think you can, with the ones that believe in partial birth abortion, but so we're at 2.785 million is what there should have been. So how many people showed up? Drum roll. 6. Look at that. I love it. 6363. You can't make this up, folks. This is on the fly. I just did it right now. And what do they put in there? They love their 6s and they love their damn 3s. 6363 is the number of people that they created out of the damn thin air back in 2001. So you sit there and you're like, wow, Bobby, that's unbelievable. So let's take a look at what that looks like if you have 20 years of compounding at the median population growth rate. So what's 1 to the 102, right? Because that's what it is, 1.02%. We have to compound the fraud. So if there's 6.36 million fake people, we need to make sure that those fake people keep expanding too, like the population. Okay, so 2001 is when this has occurred. So now we're in the year 2021, but we'll just go through the end of 20. So we'll go 19 years. So 19 years is how long it's been, right, since that year. So what do we got? 1.2166, okay? So how many people does that bring us up to? And today, that brings us up to, look at that, man. You got to love the symmetry. 7.717 million people, minimum, that are overstated, okay? That's the minimum overstatement. I happen to think it's closer to, I think it's about 30 million. But so you know what? Since we're among friends, let's just go through it right now. I'll tell you why I think it's about 30 million. Okay, so we'll just get this done here today. So right now in the United States, there's about 128 million households, is what they're saying. 128 million households in America. Okay, we'll even go exact. The government said there's 128,451,000 households. Okay, now this number has historically been 2.52. I've seen 2.52 to 2.6 people per household. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick and dirty number of Americans per household. Okay, so you guys can all see what is that? 2.54. Look at that. That's what I was saying. 2.54 is what the number is. All right. So we're going to be like, okay, Bobby, what do we got? 2.54. Number of people per household, right? So there's 128 million households. Okay, now here's the rub. They're saying 326 is what they're coming up with using their number of households. Okay, but now when you look at the number, I want to tie it out to show you how they're running the scam. So the government is saying there's 128 million households, but now when you say, okay, Bobby, how many homes are there in America? Okay, how many homes in how many in the housing units in the U.S. Okay, this number is way off. This 139. They've adjusted this. The number, and it looks like they're changing it through time. I've seen housing units in the U.S. and we're gonna go. Hold on a second. It's not 139 million. What I'm saying is they've upped this by almost 20 million. Okay? So let me see if I could find it, maybe if it's in the census data. Hold on a second. See, they're trying to say 328. Hold on. But hold on a second. See, they're saying right here, the census is trying to give us this bogus number of 140 million. I do not believe that. Hold on a second, because I know I looked at Zillow number of housing units. units in the U.S. Let's see what Zillow's estimate is. Hold on a second. Unless they modified it. Okay, hold on a second. I'm sorry, folks. I can't find it. That it was something along the lines of about 80 million 80 million total value of all U.S. homes. Here we go. Okay. So back in 2017, the value of all the homes in the United States was 31.8 trillion. Okay. Now, here is where. Hold on a second. I'm trying to find where that number is. What I kept seeing was about 80 million. 80 million homes and about 40 million apartments. So that brings you to 120 million. So back then, the total value of all homes was 31.8 trillion. So if we wanted to do what was the median home value in 2017, we can do a quick estimate. Median home value. Median home value in 2017. Okay, so it was worth $235,000. Okay, so I wonder if they're changing this stuff. Hold on a second. When is this stuff going on here? So this was written in 2017. So 31.8 trillion. Okay, well, they're saying 135. Something's off. I'm going to have to dig for this, folks. I apologize. I thought I would be able to quickly find it, and it's not popping up. But my point is that the number of homes, from what I'm seeing exist in the United States, is differing from what they've been putting into the census. So the question becomes, how many of these homes are really there and which ones aren't? And so this is the way this can be proved out. You look at the property tax bill across all 3,143 counties in this country, and you see how many properties that we're collecting taxes on. And then you can back out how many homes there truly are in the United States and how many apartments there are. But when I looked at that number, when I looked at those two numbers, and I don't have it in front of me, I'm going to have to find out my source. But I like to triangulate. So if one government report is saying one thing, then I'll go and look at another government report, and then I'll go look at another government report, and somewhere along the way, the numbers were not 140 million, and when I computed it, it turned out to be about 296 million Americans, not 329 million Americans. And so if we took the 273 number, which is back in the year 2000, okay, that's how many Americans there were. And if you grew that number, if you believe that number, that we grew the U.S. population by 1%, it would jive with their number. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that the number's been that high. You can't have that number be that high and then have 1 out of 117 people dying. If only 1 out of every 117 people alive today was dying, the average age would continue to explode upwards. Let me give the example this way: if we had 1,000 people in a small town, and the average life expectancy was 50. So let's just say the average age of everybody in that town was 50. So that means that everybody's been alive, and there's 50,000 years of life that have occurred. 1,000 people, the average age in the town is 50 years old. 50 times 1,000 is 50,000 years of life. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, if there's a new baby born, and then somebody dies, right? The population stays the same. No, it's not complicated. Somebody's born, somebody dies. Somebody dies at 89. Somebody's born is 0, right? So this is kind of what happens. So in that example, 1 out of every 89 of us died, right? 1 out of every 89 of us died. If the average life expectancy is 50, and then someone dies at 89, and then somebody was born at 1, okay? So the government's saying we're growing an average of 1%, but then, life expectancy is 89. Well, you can imagine, if everybody lived an extra year, so the life expectancy creeped up to 90, right? So all of a sudden, if everybody lives an extra year, then what does that look like? Well, if everybody ends up living an extra year, that's basically 1,000. The average, you would move that number from 1 in 89. It would be like, maybe there's like one in hold on a second, is if everybody lived an extra year, then the average life expectancy would go up to 51, because there's 1,000 people. And this number, I haven't put this together in Excel yet, but it would continue to creep up to where what were, if the average age of everybody goes up by 1 year, then the average age of everybody in the community is 51, because we're not dying as fast, or we're supposed to have one person dying for every 90, but we only have one person dying for every 115 people. So you take that 115 and you subtract out the 90, you have 25. That means that somewhere along the way, if there's only one of us dying for every 115 people in this example, then 25 divided by 90, that means, that's 27% more. There's, it's like the number is 27.77% higher than what is suggested. It has to tie out somewhere. Now, granted, I was just showing everybody what the census data looks like. They break it out by age, and they break it out by, who's under 5, who's over 65. So theoretically, if I had the time to do this, what I would do is, ideally would love granular data, which is what is the age of each and every single person. And then you kind of, you have it roll through time, and then you show if the numbers are truly tying out. And then you simultaneously take all the tax records of the country and say, this is how much, here's what the deal is with the tax records. And then you compare the two numbers, and then we'd have a much better estimate of what the damn real population of this country is. So, theoretically, if we did this, we can have real numbers every year. We don't need a 10-year census. I still think we should have one at least every 10 years. But I do think that there's a way to show all this information, each and every single year, based on actual data and based on actual taxes paid. So what are the taxes being paid on the housing units, and then what is taking place beneath the surface of those housing units, which we would back out the population. Then we would be able to, what would fall out if we did this, what would fall out is all the fraud that's being created, like how much money is being skimmed from the federal government, because the government is skimming an insane amount of money. Like not the state, the various states are skimming a tremendous amount of money from the federal government, which is why I think that we, the people, need to get this figured out, because this scam, with regards to the census figures, with regards to these people, helps cover up their crimes. And I don't want to go into the conversation I had with Edward Solomon yesterday, because he did bring up something which was super cool. And I want to make sure that if we share that with the American people, I'd like to have him be on that same broadcast with me, because he brought up something which I think is extremely cool, that ties into what I've been saying, and he has a different angle on it, a different perspective. So what I'm going to try to do in the next day or two is see if he's available to go live with this. And now keep in mind, folks, I have not shared the dream that I had with regards to something that we're all overlooking with regards to voting irregularities. I do want to get that information out. I think it is tied. I'm just giving you guys a sneak preview. It's tied to what's going on with the census stuff. It's tied to what's going on with the states getting money from the federal government. It is also tied, I want to tell you, it's tied to what's going on with regards to COVID. It is also tied to what's going on with partial birth abortions. And it's tied to immigration. So it's pretty funny how all these things are all wrapped together. And I'm going to explain what I dreamt with regards to the math and how all these different things are all tied together. We'll see if Steve Bann is going to have me on a show or somebody else. But, I do want to get it out there. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, because I want to make sure that this goes out to a very large audience. Heck, I'll even wear a blazer if I have to, Steve. Anyways, I'm just making a joke. But you know, I do think people are going to be shocked when they see it. Is that Elishiva life expectancies have been increasing for several decades, but they're not increasing enough to warrant only one person dying for every 117. That's what I'm basically saying, folks. I'll give you one other sneak preview. Okay, I think that a lot of these cases. Okay, here's the deal. A lot of what's happening with COVID, we should ask to see the bodies. A lot of these are suspiciously being cremated, right? And I think they're burying a bunch of phantom voters. Okay, right now I think in the COVID numbers, they're inflating them to destroy the number of phantom voters that are out there. And they're getting paid in the process. So that's part of this scam. But here's what I will say. The odds of dying in Illinois across any other disease were even money. You're a Democrat or you're a Republican across all 102 counties, almost 13 million people in Illinois. It was even money. You placed a bet. What's the odds of Bobby dying if he's a Democrat or Republican in a county? It would be the same. However, in Democrat-controlled counties, you had 25 to 40% higher odds. 25 to 40% higher odds of dying from COVID if you were in a Democratic-controlled county. Now, what does that mean? Well, I guess you got some phantom voters to cremate. Who knows if these people are even real? It's like, hey, get rid of those damn phantom voters. I know how we're going to clean these damn rolls. Create something, bury it, cremate, but don't bury it. Burn it. burn that phantom voter. You don't want to bury him because people are going to want to see the damn body. So let's make sure we burn them. So who controls? I guess what I would say is who the hell controls these crematoriums? That's what we need to look into as a society, and how many of these people were real, because this is the kind of crap that they're doing. Who's Joe Snuffy? What's going on here? Official. I assume you know this. Yeah, no, they are. It is extremely fraudulent. But what I'm saying is, we need to look into all this. In hold on a second. What is it with these little trollsters? Instead of hipsters, we're going to call them trollsters, right? There's all those little hipsters. They like the wool hats in the summer. They think it makes them hip. It makes them look like a douche. Anyways, I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way when you see people wearing a wool hat in the summer in Chicago or something. And so, this is what's going on, folks. I'm trying to show you part of the reason why I was kind of showing you some of the stuff with the census stuff is these people have been fictitiously created. It started in the data that jumped up in the number of households just in the year 2001. But then I showed you, if you go back to the economic report to the president, going back to 1987, they just padded the bill by 1 million people back then, with the update. So the question is, if they did that with 1 million people here, they did it with another 6 million people there, you start adding it up, it turns into tens of millions of people. So that's all I'm saying is, it's worth looking into. Okay, I said it once, I'll say it again. It's worth looking into. We do need to have bare roots farmer. Yeah, it is funny that people hate the truth. It is pretty funny. But anyways, we do need to look into all this, and I think there's a way that the American people can do it. I'm hopeful that they start to do it. And hopefully some of these frameworks and things that I'm kind of getting people to look into for themselves, people will uncover this for themselves, and you'll be able to see what the heck is going on, because it's a massive problem, folks. This is you got to remember, this is just, I'm doing this on the side. I do it at night. I do my thing during the day for the markets, for clients. That's what pre-active investment is. But I do use a lot of the same skill sets that I've built up and accrued in the financial markets to do this. So it does allow me to go through the data pretty damn fast. And what I'm saying is that these scams have been going on, for quite a while, and we need to expose them all. So, anyways, with that being said, I'll end. There was 133 people watching. I like the number 33. So thank you all for watching. God bless. I'll be back at 8:30. Actually, tonight my Bible class will be at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I think it's day 94. No, is it 94 or 95? I'm losing count, folks. I think it's 94. Hold on a second here. Yesterday was 94. No, today's 95. Day 95 in a row. It'll be 9 o'clock. So I got a busy night ahead of me. It's my second job. I'm going to be on Ann Vandersteel at 8. I think Colonel Waldron is might be one of the guests. So unless something changes and she kind of pulls me off and says I don't want you on the show tonight, I should be on there with talking with Colonel Waldron and possibly Jovan Pulitzer. I think she reached out to him to see if he's available. So it'll be Jovan going over stuff with me and Colonel Waldron. It's Colonel Waldron, right? He's not a general. I think it's a colonel. Hold on. I gotta make sure I check that. I'm sorry. Because I hear his name tossed around all the time. I think it's General Waldron. Hold on. General Waldron. Is that right? Guys, help me out here. Is it Colonel or General? Yeah, Colonel. I don't want to promote him. Like I have no authority to promote the Colonel. But anyways, let's see what happens. So I'll be sending the links out later on Telegram, and I'll tweet it out as well. So I hope you guys found it interesting, and I will talk to you soon. God bless.